This is actually the scene in front of a station in Osaka. Just a minute's walk, and it looks like this. Some buildings here are clearly abandoned, while others are neglected. There's a lot of open land, which you wouldn't expect in front of a station. And what catches your eye are the signs of a mysterious organization. On many of the vacant lots and empty houses in front of the station, you can see the name of a mysterious group called Kita no Hausentai written. Even the prime real estate buildings in front of the station have newer-looking signs giving the area a strange vibe. Although the surrounding area is being elevated, there are no plans to raise this station. It's said that this is also related to the fact that the area in front of the station has become deserted and is now in ruins. What on earth is happening in this town? This time I'll introduce the current situation around the east exit of Kaizuka Station on the Nankai Main Line in Kaizuka City, Osaka Prefecture. So, I've arrived at Kaizuka Station on the Nankai Main Line. This place is located in the southern part of Osaka Prefecture. It's the main station in Kaizuka City near Kishiwada City. Everyone understands if you mention it. I'd like to introduce the east side of the station, but first let's take a look at what the west exit is like. The west exit really feels like a typical local station. There's a roundabout, some buildings, a declining shopping street, and further on the remains of an old red light district. Well, if you ask whether it's quiet or not, it is quiet, but I would say there's nothing out of place about it, but that's normal. Next, I've come to the east side. To get to the other side of the station, you can either use the underground passage or walk through the station building to cross the tracks. The east side was Eisogamoria village until 1931. Several villages, including some others, were merged into the original Kaizuka town. That's how it became a city. Let me clarify, this video isn't meant to criticize any organization, person, city, or council. That's not why this video was made. I'll present the current situation, what I've learned, and what I couldn't find. The vibe will differ from my usual videos, but I hope you understand. So let's take a look around the station area. You immediately notice a blue sign reading Kita no Hausenkai. Though it appears to be a store sign, it isn't. Until about 2018, there was a Japanese sweet shop here, but since it closed, the building has remained unused. Why did they bother putting it up? Other places are totally neglected, which is surprising right in front of the station. That's what you see here. The grass and trees are overgrown, and there are clearly buildings that haven't been used for decades, just left abandoned. In places like this, you almost always see signs with the words Hoku Hosenkai or Hosen written in big letters, or signs indicating no entry. Sometimes Hoku Hosenkai appears in small letters on signboards in different ways. I'll withhold the name, but it's someone from the north. There are also signs with the name of Mr. A from the Hosenkai, also from the north. Now in ruins, the impressive building also belongs to the northern Hoku Hosenkai. The nameplate shows Mr. A from the north, and the cone in front also says Hosen. There was a stone monument for the Hoku Hosenkai. These things are expensive, but impressive. The building next to it has the number 2018, a mysterious drawing, and the words Hoku Hosenkai. Looking at it on Street View, you can see that it was painted around 2018, so it doesn't seem to be something from a long time ago. It would take forever to introduce them all, but you can find the words Hoku Hosenkai of various sizes everywhere. Even without a signboard, pottery from the vacant land belongs to someone from Kita no Nama. You might also see it on nameplates and signs. It wasn't just Mr. A from Kita. The pottery register showed other Kita no Nama properties owned by different people had also become vacant lots. Kita no Hosenkai doesn't necessarily mean Mr. A from Kita. Mr. A from Kita and his family now call themselves Kita no Hosenkai. There was also the ruin of the 11th floor institution in Kita. Were there 11th kind people in the Kita family too? Now let's take a look at the aerial photograph for a moment. It's clear the area around the station is overgrown with grass. It's far from bustling areas like Namba and Umeda. Yes, huh? It's unusual to see such a scene in front of a station in Osaka compared to other cities and towns. However, the Kita clan isn't entirely isolating themselves, as signs with phone numbers for inquiries are still posted. Of course, I can't just call this number myself. I contacted the city council about this situation, but I didn't get a response. Well, I guess it can't be helped. I've introduced the current state of Kaizuka Station East exit up to this point. I visited around 3 p.m. and I even had someone accompany me, but still it felt eerie. Well, I'm not sure if eerie is the right word, but I definitely sensed a different atmosphere compared to other towns. I noticed that there was also a place with thick greenery a little away from the west exit of the station, so I went closer. As I thought, there was a sign for the Kita no Hu Funakai, and when I checked some of the pottery there, I found out that they also owned some land a bit further up the mountain from the station. If I tried to check ownership of all land around Kaizuka Station, I'd go bankrupt. So there are some omissions, but mapping it shows they own much of the area. Rather than focusing on Kita no Hu Funakai, isn't it impressive how much land they own? They must be a very famous landowner. Also, there are several shops that are still in business, renting land or buildings from the Kita no Hu Funakai, so not all of the land has become abandoned or wasteland. I have no way of knowing what things were like in ancient times, but as far as I could check by obtaining some property records around Kaizuka Station, I didn't find any history of the Kita no Hu Funakai selling land to others. Most likely they've just been renting out the land since long ago. So it turns out that they have only been renting out the land and have not sold it. However, it seems that this policy of not selling has also influenced the city planning of Kaizuka. When I looked at the minutes of the city council, I found records that, although the name isn't mentioned, clearly refer to the landowner Kita no Hu Funakai. First, in the 2008 minutes it is written that sewer maintenance couldn't be carried out due to opposition from the landowner. And although there were redevelopment plans, the redevelopment association was dissolved. Next, in the recent 2024 minutes, it is mentioned that members of the city council and the mayor have visited several times, but nothing has moved forward. The land is also an obstacle to the elevation of the station, and at certain times, the crossing and the area around it cause traffic congestion. Considering the current station area and structure, shifting the elevated tracks to the east side for construction would be realistic, since there is a rotary building on the west side. However, to elevate the station, the east side is packed with buildings, so land acquisition is essential, and it's not possible as things stand. But since Kita no Hu Funakai owns the land, it has become difficult. In fact, there were considerations for elevation, and there were moves to redevelop the east side with an association existing, but it seems the association was dissolved in the early 2000s. The scenery at the east exit of Kaizuka Station hasn't changed for decades. Time has stopped, and the Showa-era atmosphere remains just as it is. Now then, what kind of organization is Kita no Hu Funakai in the first place? Since it has Kai in the name, I thought it might be a company, so I checked the corporate registry, but nothing came up. There seemed to be various rumors, but it's highly likely that the Kita family voluntarily uses the name Kai. I'll explain later why I can determine which land belongs to Kita no Hu Funakai by looking at the registry. Next, there was a post on the Kaizuka City Bulletin Board saying that there was a sign for Kita no Hu Funakai on the ruins of a building called the Kaizuka Human Rights History Museum, which is located straight ahead from the east side of the station. This is the building. Like other places, it's become a ruin and looks like it could collapse at any moment. I wonder how long it's been abandoned. When I checked the registry, this place was also owned by Kita no Hu Funakai. You might wonder why there was a human rights history museum here, but there used to be a baraku called Shimamura in this area. This place was also featured in a movie about a local butcher shop. It's less than a 10-minute walk from the station. It's common for human rights museums and similar facilities to be set up in places like this. Normally, if it were a city-run building, it would be called the Kaizuka City Human Rights History Museum, but since that's not the case, it was probably run entirely privately. It's natural to think that the building was rented out to the former residents of Shimamura, and after it closed down, the Kita Noho Funakai sign was put up, just like with the other buildings. I spent the whole day researching and thought I had hit a dead end, but when I looked again the next day, I actually found some new information. First, there is a facility called Kita No Village in Kaizuka City. It seems it was originally a variety store called the Kita No Shop, which had 5 stores in Kansai and 1 each in Kanagawa and Fukuoka. By around 2015, all of them had closed, and now only Kita No Village in Kaizuka City remains. By the way, there was also a ruin of a Kita No Shop in a narrow alley in front of Kaizuka Station. Since this land is also owned by Kita Noho Funakai, it might be related. Next, as I was thoroughly searching Kaizuka City's website, I noticed that 2 to 5 of Kaizuka's mayors had the surname Kita No. A person named Kita no Yaichiro served as mayor for 10 years after the war. Suspecting a connection to Kita Noho Funakai, I kept researching and found a 2012 phone book listing Kita no Yaichiro. Surprisingly, the phone number matched that of a landowner for some properties owned by Kita Noho Funakai. In short, the current Kita family is related to Kita no Yaichiro. I also used this phone book to check if the properties belong to the Kita no family. Although it's not as much as it used to be, there was a time when landowners had a lot of power. It was common for powerful landowners to become mayors or town chiefs. This was especially common until around the post-war period, so it makes sense that Kita no Yaichiro became the head right after the war. The Kita no family had long been powerful landowners here, so it's natural that Kita no Yaichiro became mayor due to that background. Seen this way, there's nothing suspicious about it. It might be because they were a wealthy family that they had the means to open a veterinary clinic or a shop. Now then, why would they go so far as to use signs, writing, and even monuments to insist that the House of Hausenkai owns this place? The ones written a long time ago were on small signs and not very noticeable, but the ones written recently have become much larger and more prominent. Besides the place with the year written on it that I showed at the beginning of the video, if you look back at Street View, you'll see that around 2018, the number of places with the word Hausen increased all at once. Around this time, the signboard in front of the station was also put up. I wonder if the timing just happened to work out for them. And there are also places without any writing or signs. It seems that the buildings where the words Kita no Hausenkai are written tend to be those that have recently become vacant after rental contracts ended, or buildings that stand out. Honestly, it's a mystery why they go so far to assert their ownership like this. I wonder if something happened in the past that threatened their land. If nothing had happened, they probably wouldn't go this far. Maybe it has something to do with the Redevelopment Association being dissolved. The signboard in front of the station is especially impressive. They spent a lot of money to put up such a nice sign, even though it's not a business that's actually operating. Honestly, it's unusual, and I don't think they would do something like this if they had another company making money for them. It's also unclear why they don't try to make use of the land they own or sell it. Just owning the land means they have to pay property taxes every year, and there are no real benefits. There are even roads where fire trucks can't get through if there's a fire, so it would definitely spread over a wide area, which is a bit worrying. And if the predicted Nankai Trough earthquake happens, there's no way they could avoid catastrophic damage. Most of their land is prime real estate in front of the station, so they could easily develop or sell it, and many people likely want it. The meeting minutes show the city wants the land, so selling it could bring in a lot of money. Still, there must be a reason they won't sell, making me wonder what's happening behind the scenes. Personally, I just wish they would at least cut the grass and do some maintenance. From what I can see on Street View, there are plenty of places that have been left unattended for over 20 years. I think it's about time for the authorities to step in and start removing the overgrown branches and weeds. However, when it comes to selling land, it's ultimately a personal decision. If the city wants them to sell, they'll just have to keep negotiating with them. I don't know what will happen in the future, and I'm sure neither the Kitano Hausenkai nor the city knows it either. No matter how long it takes, I hope that things will eventually move forward and that time will start flowing again on the east side of the station. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.